Hey everybody, Dan from Men Need to Be Heard. Just bear with me for a second because I am trying something new here. I'm going to go turn off the logo. So what I'm doing, let me just give it a second here. Um, I thought it would be fun to try something a little different. And if you'll just bear with me, I apologize, but I'm trying to stream to both YouTube and TikTok at the same time to see how this goes. Somebody suggested some software to me, and well, frankly, this is the first time I'm trying it. So we're live on YouTube, and here we go. Let's see how this works out. Hey, everybody. So if you're following me on TikTok right now, welcome to the show. This is Dan from Men Need to Be Heard. And as I was just saying, I've got this live up on YouTube as well as here on TikTok. So streaming to both. Welcome chat from both sides. We'll see how this holds up with my internet connection. It should be stable, but we'll see how it goes. Nothing in particular to chat about today. I do want to talk a little bit about my week. Not that it's about me, it's about you guys. Hey, Lindsay, I see you there. Lindsay's my girl, and Lindsay, you'll let me know if it starts lagging too much. So what I wanted to kind of share from my week is I've had a little bit of a rough week. And the reason is, if you follow me on the social medias, I've been doing, putting up videos about false allegations. And what kind of triggered that for me was this week's podcast that's coming up, which is Sunday, is with a gentleman. His name is Jason, who was accused of some horrific things. I'll leave it for the podcast for him to discuss what he went through, but suffice it to say, it's right up there with the worst things I've ever heard. And I have worked with, at this point, thousands of guys over the years. And, talking with Jason, both before we filmed the podcast, during it. Hey, Phoenix, thank you. And afterward, because one of the things that we did was, after the podcast got done, we got done recording it. I stayed on with him for, I don't know, I'll say an hour. I don't really remember how long it was. Just talking about the stuff we really didn't want to talk about on the podcast, because you have to understand something. He's dealing with legal ramifications. Jason's a really good guy, right? And watch the podcast for the details, but in a nutshell, he's been completely, cleared of everything. But the problem is, even now, if I remember right, 4 or 5 years after that is all behind him, he's still facing the consequences of it. So, when you're dealing with things like false allegations, people think, and I talk about this in the videos I've been putting out this week, because what happened was, let me just backtrack a little bit. That podcast really affected me in a lot of ways, all right? I am fully aware of how these things work. I've worked with guys in the past that have dealt with false allegations. Earlier in my career, those of you who follow me know that I was in IT for a number of years at many levels, but ultimately towards the end, director level. I was in the C-suite in a couple of companies. Hated every minute of it, by the way. But when you're in IT, you work with HR a lot, right, to do investigations. And so I've off and on dealt with stuff like this for decades. And one of the things, well, let me just tell a quick story. It just kind of popped in my brain. I don't think I've ever shared this one before. This goes back to 1998, 9, somewhere in there. It was right before it was 99 because it was right before Y2K. Any of you old enough to remember Y2K? I just gave away my age. It's, that was a whole rigmarole. But anyway, right before that happened, Lindsay, you are barely old enough to remember that. Who are you kidding? I know how old she is. But anyway, so right before that happened, HR director called me into her office, said, I need your help on an investigation. Very common thing, by the way. And an accusation had been made against the gentleman. I'm going to make up his name. Let's call him Matt. Pulled that one out of my butt. All right. It's not his actual name. Matt was at the time about 60 years old. Pretty much same age I am now. Nicest guy in the world. I mean, when I say he would hand you the shirt off his back, there were times he literally did that. Somebody spilled something on their shirt. He had a spare shirt. He gave them the shirt he had. All right. That kind of guy. Just an all-around good guy. And I didn't know him well. We were kind of work friends, if you know what I mean, right? We never hung out after work or any of that. But this guy was, hey, Mother Russia, how are you? This guy was madly in love with his wife. All right. It's all he talked about. And they had a really good relationship from what I could tell. Anyway, long story short, I got called in to do an investigation on Matt. What we found out was there was what I found out was there was a younger lady, Jane. I'm making up names again. She was in her mid-20s. Glad to hear that, Mother Russia. And she had made an allegation that Matt was coming on to her. Now, mind you, this is in the late 90s, all right? Things are a little different technologically then. So anyway, long story short, I have to do an investigation. She had claimed he had sent her emails, had done various things, all these claims. Sicily sounds better. Okay, we'll go with Sicily. Why, do you not like a Sicily, Lindsay? But anyway, so I do the investigation, right? Everything we're seeing is leaning towards him basically being guilty. All right. This was like my first awakening to what actually happens. That's why it made me think about it. As part of the investigation, you go through various things, and I ran across something that kind of made me go, right? Something didn't seem right. So I grabbed her computer. Now, mind you, we're talking at that point Windows 98 computers, to give you an idea. All right. Or actually, it was Windows NT 4 for most of our computers. Really giving away my age now. But anyway, so I grabbed her computer. Now, what a lot of people don't know is you may think you're deleting stuff off your computer. You may think that it can't be found. It can be found, my friends. Somebody knows what they're doing, and I know what I'm doing, okay? So long story short with the whole thing is I then found where she was the one sending him the emails from her Yahoo account. And thanks, Lindsay. So what happened was I then went further. So the other thing you may not know is unless you're using point-to-point encryption, everything that runs through the network crosses a router at some point. Well, with the right software, you can read everything that's being sent through that router. And so, again, we're doing the investigation. Now my hair's been raised. There you go. And I'm like, okay. And I'm talking with the HR manager the whole time. Again, trying to keep this as short as possible, but give you the gist of it. Anyway, we then found out she was still threatening Matt through her Yahoo account. The problem was Matt was deleting everything, right? So he had nothing to show us, but I went and found it. And that's what kind of, in the end, he was completely innocent, right? Again, I've kind of circled all around what happened, but in the end, he was completely innocent. But he was looking guilty as hell for a while there. This went over a couple of months period. Thank you for the rose, Snow. I appreciate it. And that's what opened my eyes really to what false allegations not only are, but what they can do. Because I saw what happened with Matt. All right. Now, mind you, you were accused of being intimate with my best friend's mother. Wow, Phoenix. I'm assuming that wasn't true. I was going to go on a side note there, but I'm going to keep quiet on it. It woke me up to what really can happen. And I saw what was happening with Matt. He was struggling through the whole thing. He was just, he went from being the happy-go-lucky guy to so quiet. I mean, his eye, I remember seeing he would never look up. His eyes were always down. And again, I knew what was going on because I was part of the investigative team, but a lot of people didn't. Good afternoon, Allie. And, that stuff is highly confidential, or it's supposed to be, I should say. Sometimes it gets out. But anyway, he was absolved. She ended up getting fired, rightfully so. But it kind of opened my eyes to the whole thing. So I've always been aware of it since that time. But talking with Jason, and again, the podcast will be up this Sunday at 11 Eastern on YouTube. I've done, at this point, I've done thousands of podcasts, radio shows, TV, all sorts of different things. I've interviewed hundreds of people, probably thousands. This was one of the ones that hit me more than any other. I would honestly put this, as far as affecting me, top 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there. That's how much. Snowy, good question. How did Matt's wife react? She stood by him the whole time that I know of. To be honest with you, I don't know a lot. But having talked with him afterward about the whole thing, because he was very thankful to me, because if I had not done what I did, he would have been fired. She stuck by him, and the last I knew, he's probably passed away at this point, because he was 60 at that point. He wasn't in the greatest of health, but he was a great guy. But as far as I know, 2007-8 was the last time I had any communication with him, because we kind of kept in contact a little bit. They were still happily married. So in the end, she stuck by him. But talking with Jason kind of brought some of that up, and kind of brought up some of the other stuff, and it really affected me. I mean, a lot. We did that recording early Monday afternoon, early. Honestly, it floored me for the rest of the day. It really did. Because if you watch the podcast, and I know it sounds like I'm pandering and trying to get you to watch it, I am in this case, but I want you to watch it not for me, but for Jason, all right? Because it will blow your mind, just blow your mind. And, he talks about how, what his relationship was like beforehand, how it all happened, and again, it just hit me to my core. And I hear from guys every single day. I mean, there isn't a day that goes by I don't get emails from guys, DMs through either Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I'm up on Facebook now. I haven't done much with it, but I get contacted all the time, and I'm grateful for that. I truly am. That's right. Shameless plug for exposure, Phoenix. I'm not embarrassed, but I don't want to do it too much. All right, users. So what we're talking about right now is I'm sharing how bad my week was, or how my week was going initially, and how kind of going to dovetail into what we're talking about as the topic. And guys, I want to hear if you've dealt with any of this stuff too, because I'm interested in it. But afterward, we Jason and I finished. Like I said, I'm saying an hour. I don't even remember how long it was. It might have been longer. I don't know. Talking with him behind the scenes, trying to give him some suggestions and some help. It made me sit down afterward. And like I said, I was kind of floored a little bit. And then I said, all right, I'm going to put something together and start talking about false allegations. And that's why, if you follow me on any of the social medias, you're seeing me put out videos. I believe I've got 4 of them out now because I scheduled them. I don't actually post them live. And there's right now I think I've got 8 filmed or scheduled to go out, and a couple more coming. Thank you, Allie, for the football helmet. And I broke it down. So what I did was I was watching the playback while I was doing it too, and I kind of took the parts that Jason was talking about, how it affected him, took some of what Matt had gone through, and so forth, and kind of put together basically a bullet point list, right, with my thoughts, and then it created scripts out of it. And if you watch the videos, they are not my best videos because I start talking like this because I'm reading. I got a thing on my phone, a teleprompter, right? To kind of take, because I didn't want to do it off the cuff, so kind of take what I had written and done that. And I will tell you, me with a teleprompter is never good. I used to do a TV show back in 20 years ago. And most of the time we had guests on, kind of like what I do with the podcast, right? This was on local TV. But, you would like throw to commercial or throw to whatever, and you'd have to read a teleprompter. And, oh, God, I sound like a complete moron because one of the things I can do is I am a speed reader. I read extremely fast. No joke. I've read The Lord of the Rings 27 times. It's been a few years. But I can read all the books from The Hobbit all the way through in about 3 weeks. And I read fast. Tom Clancy is one of my favorite authors. When his books come out, I would buy them and they would be done that night. That's how fast I can read. But the problem is that, when I get in front of a teleprompter, I sound like an idiot because my brain is 5 lines ahead. But anyway, what triggered me was I wanted to do those videos to start raising awareness about false allegations because it's a major issue that men face in today's society, right? As I've put out those videos, and I've had some people commenting on them, and I appreciate those comments. Yeah, Justin, I don't have dyslexia, but I think I can kind of relate to what you're saying. I autocorrect on something. I get monotone is what I noticed, but I didn't want to keep refilming them. But, having done those videos and seeing the comments on them, I started realizing that, even today I'm realizing it's a much bigger problem than I think even I suspected. So, you look at the statistics with false allegations. Now, when I say, by the way, let's define a false allegation in this particular instance. So there's different kinds, right? What I relayed to y'all about Matt was in particular a sexual harassment, right? There's allegations of abuse, domestic violence. There's allegations of SA and R, all those things. I'm kind of putting these all under one umbrella. And that's not to minimize any of them. They're all bad. But, I also did some research. So, as I said, I started realizing this seems to be a little bit bigger problem than I thought. I always thought it was, I'm trying to put like some numbers to it. In my mind, it was like 10, 15, 20% of the allegations were probably false. And having done, by the way, enough investigations with HR and all that, I would say, honestly, it probably is around 20%. Personal experience, okay? Of all the investigations I did, they were founded probably 4 out of 5 times. Ballparking, all right? Exactly, Lindsay. False allegations never happen. That's the other side you hear. They happen, okay? Again, there are some good ones as far as, well, not, that's a really bad way to put it. There are some valid ones. That's the term I want to use. And there are many that are invalid also. The point I was trying to make in my videos, and more of them are coming out, is that we need to take these allegations seriously and investigate them thoroughly. But what happens with it, and this is what Jason talks about, is he's been cleared, completely cleared, 4 or 5 years now. And yet he's still facing the consequences of it. He has to carry a paper with him. He talks about this on the podcast. Carry a paper, proof that he was cleared. Let that sink in for a minute. All right. Wow. I'm just reading through Phoenix's comments there. Wow. Yeah. False allegations. And logical, I agree with you on this. This is where I'm going to kind of go with it, right? So, Jason's accuser, and again, I don't want to get too much into here because that's where I want you to go see the podcast on it, because I want you to hear it from him, not me. But basically, his accuser got away scot-free. Nothing happened, all right? And that happens all the time. Of all the investigations I did that were found, not valid, I can think of probably less than 10% the person making the accusation had anything serious happen. They get a reprimand, but they wouldn't get fired or all that. But, I'm starting to realize it's an even bigger issue than I thought. And I keep in mind, I'm aware, I am actively involved in all this. Yes, Lindsay, I agree with you. And this is where I'm kind of going to talk about it, is these type of issues that we as men face in society, they get dismissed, right? Someone makes an allegation, and the public automatically assumes the person's guilty. Even, I talk about this in some of the videos, even when they've been found innocent, right? When an allegation is found to be completely false, made up, and keep in mind, the number is somewhere around 70% of all divorces. Don't quote me on the exact number. There is an allegation made of some sort of abuse or something like that. All right, it's very common. The magic bullet, as it's known. And the reason it's so common and the reason it's made is divorce lawyers know it's a slam dunk win for a woman. If she alleges DV or anything, she's going to get a restraining order, because no judge is going to put himself or herself at risk by not granting it. A lot of these times they're issued ex parte, which means you, the person being accused, aren't even present. All right. And so the order is given, custody is automatically awarded to the mother. The father is shut out of the kids' lives for the duration of the investigation. And we're talking, people think these investigations take a couple of days. We're talking weeks, if not months, if not years for them to go through. If a judge orders a TRO, temporary restraining order, you can't go to the house, you can't see the kids. There's a whole host of things that happen. Then you go into court, you try and get it taken away and all that. Just farts, false. I love that name, by the way. Falsely accused, ruin your life and name. Exactly. That's where Jason talks about it a little bit more in detail. Again, they know, the lawyers, divorce lawyers know it's a slam dunk. They're going to get that. And once you get a temporary order in family court, pretty much it's going to carry through to the final order, right? So if mom gets awarded custody, is proven to have lied, most judges don't do a damn thing. I've seen it. There are exceptions, but most of the time, what was issued as the order becomes the order. And again, even when it's found completely false and she made it up, and there's no repercussions to the mother. Same thing, you saw this with a myriad of cases with SA and R, right? I live in North Carolina. If you remember a few years ago, the Duke case, there's a few cases actually, completely made up. the accuser, nothing happened, right? It was relatively minor stuff. Sometimes, they get a little slap on the wrist, as I like to call it. There are exceptions. I'm working with someone to have him come on the podcast. He was completely absolved, and she ended up getting 4 years in jail. But again, not 4 years compared to having his life destroyed forever. Now, I have not talked with him in detail, but I've talked with him a little bit. That accusation is never going away because even, like I said, what Jason talks about it, I've talked about it with other guys. I've talked with men who've been accused of R before and were found innocent. People still believe they're guilty, right? And it makes it so difficult because you try and go find a job afterward. So one of the things that you'll find, I don't know if many people are aware of this. So again, I'm trying to be a little bit educational because this is a huge issue in today's society for men. It's becoming more prevalent where these accusations are made because the accusers know they're going to get away with it, right? And let me be clear here, by the way, I should state this. I'm talking about false allegations. I'm not talking about all allegations. As I know, somebody's going to twist this to say, oh, you're trying to make it so that, no. What I am saying is let's talk about proven false allegations, all right? If it goes to court, if it goes to trial, and they are found innocent, they're innocent as far as I'm concerned. If the case gets dropped or the accuser recants later, which is very common, by the way, especially in divorce court. That's it, right? But again, the person being accused has to live with this the rest of their life. It affects their ability to get a job. They lose tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars defending themselves. They don't get recouped that money. People don't understand that, all right? These things take months, if not years, to adjudicate sometimes. Think about the toll that takes emotionally, mentally, physically, because it does affect people physically. A whole host of things. And I have more videos coming out just talking in general about it, but it gives you an idea the toll that this takes. Now, look, I know I'm kind of just blah, blah, blahing, but I'm kind of passionate about this and I want to get it out because it's helping me to heal because it's been a rough week for me to deal with this because I had to face my own, for lack of a better term, ignorance about it. And again, I was aware of it. I've read about it. I know it happens. I've talked with guys before that it's affected. I've seen it with investigations I've done, but this one really hit home because I could tell Jason's a really good guy. Again, having talked with him both on and off air. Allie, that is absolutely correct. It is guilty until proven innocent. The Constitution does not apply. I don't care what anybody says. And you're guilty even if you're proven innocent, as I would add to it. It's insane. I was just kind of reading your thing, Phoenix, about he's lucky what a little stud when it's a female teacher. Actually, I'm going to talk about that in just a second because now you just triggered something for me. Well, let's talk about it now. All right. So where I'm from originally, Albany, New York, there's going to be a video coming out about this. So I'm kind of spilling the beans. But recently, a teacher was found guilty, of R-ing a 13-year-old boy. Any guesses? I'll just throw it out to you. How much time in jail she got? Just generally. Just take any guess. Anybody. And I'll keep talking while you're doing that. No, she did get some, Lindsay. Nope, she got a little bit. Adam, you're close. Downtown, you're even closer. You're one off. 4 months. 4 months. Oh, and they made a point of this. She's got to register as a sex offender for 10 years. Are you... I got to be careful I don't swear. I got a video coming out about that in a little bit. So, but yeah. Again, there's another example of how men have to face these issues in society. Yeah, she should have gotten life. She got 4 months. however long, I'm pretty sure it was 10 years on the registry. Why isn't she on the registry for the rest of her life? Are you kidding me? Why? Because he was a 13-year-old boy. That's why. Imagine if I, at 60 years old, did that to a 13-year-old girl. Not only should I go to jail for life, I should be on the registry for life. It should go further, if you catch my drift, right? Because that boy, I was that boy back in the day. All right? It happened to me at 13. I'm 60 years old. I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you I'm still affected by it. I've healed from it. I've gotten past it for the most part, but it's still there. It's always going to be part of my life. All right. No, Allie, I would not leave jail, nor frankly should I, because there's justice done in the jails. All right. Yeah, I know, Phoenix. That was my initial reaction. They actually punished her. It's something. But again, it points to what men face in society, right? And it kind of dovetails with the false allegations in the sense that most of the time, let's be honest, it's women doing this stuff. And they all talk about the patriarchy all the time and the advantage men have. Where is the advantage here, right? Yes, it's actually case law, Lindsay. You're right. If the woman had the teacher had gotten knocked up, the minute he turned 18, he would be paying child support to her because she's going to get custody because he's 13. He's not getting custody. I've even heard cases where I've seen and read them where not only were they awarded custody and child support, but then they turned around and blocked the father from seeing the kid. It's insane. It talks about how unfair these things are. And you're not going to like what I'm about to say, but we are to blame for it. And by we, I mean society. I mean men. All right? Let that sink in while I take a quick drink. Why do I say that? When was the last time you took a stand about it? Ask yourself that. So let's use the teacher example I just brought up. I saw it on Facebook, all right? It's in my old hometown. I still follow the newscast there, and it actually got on the news, which in and of itself, by the way, is a miracle because most of the time they hide those cases. But they posted up she had gotten convicted, blah, blah, blah. And then I started reading the comments, and I was getting mad. Not about what she did, but the response. And I'm talking about the response from guys. All right. There was a fair portion that were like me going, are you kidding me? Why is she only getting this amount of time? Do you realize this boy is scarred? And then there were all those guys going, oh, that lucky kid. I wish I was him. And and I mean, there were a lot of guys doing that. Why should this be a problem? He should be thankful she did this. That's the mindset men have. Because these were men making these comments. There were a few women, but to be blunt, it was probably overwhelming majority men. We are to blame, right? Instead of us picking up together and saying as men to society, to the courts, no, 4 months is not enough time. This boy is being affected the rest of his life. She needs to face the consequences of that. Stuff like that. Nothing will be done there. Nothing. She'll get her 4 months. She'll get out probably in 2 with good behavior. I'm assuming they're going to pull her teacher's license, but it's the state of New York. Who the hell knows? But it speaks to why these things happen. A large part is, guys, we have to blame ourselves. And I'm including myself, by the way, for all I do. I speak out publicly. I've done workshops. I have donated money. I have spent hundreds, if not thousands of hours lobbying. All of that, I should still be doing more is my viewpoint. Because things haven't changed. If anything, they've gotten worse for guys, right? And it's really, really starting to show up. because, you look at someone like what Jason went through. And again, I really encourage you to watch that podcast. I've done some great ones. In fact, a couple of people commenting on here have been my guests on there. Those of you that see Squirrely Girl 1988, that's Lindsay. She was a guest on the podcast a couple months back. Go check that one out. It's a hoot. Love her. Lindsay's my girl. We don't come together. So a lot of the issues that men are facing we bring on ourselves because we don't stand up. You may not like what the women's groups do, the feminist groups, however you want to name them. They are masters at what they do. You have to give them credit. They have private groups on things like Quora, and I'm trying to think of the other one that they're on, because I infiltrated one of them one time. What the heck? Actually, I can look it up on my phone. Quora was one of the big... Oh, Reddit. I don't even have to look at Reddit. They'll have private Reddit groups of women where they will put out a call to action. Now, I've done private groups for men. In fact, I have a Patreon, right? I just started it and just announced that what I'm doing with it. I'll get a few on there. I know I will, and I'll appreciate it, and we'll work together and do what we can. But again, you look at that. I've been in fathers' rights groups off and on for decades. The most we ever had, I was in a group called Fathers and Families of New York. We were the largest one at the time. We had maybe 50 to 80 members, somewhere in there, give or take over the years. It kind of went up and down. Of the ones that were actually active out of that, it's probably less than 15, dozen to 15. Women's groups have by the thousands, tens of thousands. So what they'll do is, let's say we had this case with the teacher, right? They'll be aware that case is going on. They'll start firing up towards the media. Hey, go cover this. Hey, this is what's going on. Or in the case where if a man got 4 months, you better believe that judge would be getting hundreds of emails a day, because they would put it out. They even write the letter for him. Send this email. That's why they got where they're at. That's why they are so effective. And that's just a microcosm of what I'm talking about. Shared parenting is another one, right? They will, if the shared parenting bill starts moving forward anywhere, they will gather the troops, as I would call it, and they will blast tens of thousands of emails out. And keep in mind, a lot of these women don't just send it from one email. They'll send it from 4 or 5 that they have. Thank you, Allie, for coming in. I appreciate your chit-chatting here and sharing what you did and your thoughts. That's why they're so effective. And that's why we're not as guys. We need to start being effective. We need to start taking stands. I see a lot of whining. I'll call it that. I'm going to be brutal. Guys, we can talk this way to each other. The women are going to go, oh my God. We like to whine. Well, we don't stand up and take action. We just don't. We never have. And it's why we're at where we're at, right? That's how change is going to happen. One of the things I advocate for a lot is we need to start building our brotherhood, is what I'm calling it. So my Patreon, I'm calling Brotherhood of Men, because I want that to be what it is. A brotherhood of men where we can come together, deal with things. If somebody's going through family court, we come together, we help them. Somebody, God forbid, like Jason, gets an accusation. He can come there, talk about it. How can we help? How can we put pressure on to help him? A shared parenting bill's coming to a vote. We get a bunch of guys start emailing and saying, support shared parenting. The Iowa bill went nowhere after when it started to move. And I actually did a podcast with Jesse Sakavich about it and put out a call to action. Jesse let me know afterward. They got a lot of email off of that to help them, to support them. It helped. Wasn't enough though. A few hundred, great. 50,000, difference maker. All right. Phoenix, these points you're making, I love them, right? For example, DV is mostly men, but the actual studies show women initiate 70%. Here's the thing. You know why that statistic is believed by so many people, that it's mostly men? Because the feminist groups have put it out there. If somebody in the media were to say, oh, it's 50-50, the feminists will call the station. They'll write the station and say, this reporter said this, it's not true. And then they'll send a bunch of phony statistics. That's how they manipulated things and have for 40 years. Exactly right, Phoenix. They don't care about what's true. They're engaging in social engineering. They are geniuses. Geniuses. I will give them every bit of credit. Not good credit, but credit. And you see this, by the way, politically, too. I don't want to get into politics too much, but you see, the left and the right. Right now, we're in a thing where the left is basically having their way. The woke mob, so to speak. You may be part of them. I don't really care, right? But you have to give credit to them for doing what they're doing, because it's probably less than 10% of the population driving the whole narrative for the whole country, how we're being governed right now. Why? Because they're very effective at what they do. Things like Antifa, they have massive, massive groups that are out there, and they put out call to actions. And I'm not talking about, protesting or anything like that. I'm talking about emails and stuff. We need to start doing that stuff. We need to be heard. Hey, funny how that worked, right? If we're men and we want change, men need to be heard. I just made that up. It's a way for us to move forward. If we want to address the issues that we're dealing with, if we want to bring about change, if we want to support people like Jason, and when you see that podcast, I hope you want to take action on his behalf. Again, you're not going to change his situation individually, but think about the next guy and the guy after that. Think about the college kid who, meets a girl at some frat party. They are both drunk off their ass. They go do the deed. The next day she wakes up with regret. Files against him. He goes to jail for R. He was just as drunk as she was, but she could not give consent. He can. That's the way the law reads in a lot of places. Or if it doesn't read that way, it's how it's applied. Phoenix, you're right. They do ban men's rights groups, but they also don't. There's a lot of good ones out there. The problem is guys don't join them. You know who joins them? Women. Fathers and families in New York back in the day, like I said, we had give or take 60 to 80 members at any given time. More than half were women, and they were the most active ones. But guys, we tried to get $1. So we were doing a shared parenting campaign. We wanted to put billboards up. For those of you that don't know, billboards are not cheap, all right? It was going to cost us, we were going to do 3 different billboards, if I remember right. One of which was the key one, was right outside, the New York State legislatures drive down this highway. They were going to have to drive by it every day. And we wanted to put a thing up like shared parenting. I forget the verbiage, but it was shared parenting, blah, 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 right? It was going to be like $10,000 just for that billboard for a month. At the time, with the population in New York, there was roughly 5-ish million guys. If we had gotten $1 from every guy, we could have put that billboard up for 10 years. If we had gotten 10 cents from every guy, that billboard would have gone up, and I can guarantee you shared parenting would be alive and well in New York. Blue Pill over on YouTube. Yes, you're right. Men are competitive. They don't want to work together. You just nailed it on the head, right? We need to stop. You're going to love me saying this. We need to stop being men and be more like women. How's that, right? And I mean that in the sense that we need to start doing what they're doing. Like it or not, they are masters at what they've done. $10 Canadian. I do like the loonies though. I actually still have a couple loonies. I competed in rowing back about 10 years ago. I went to the Worlds and they were in Lake St. Catherine in Canada. I still have my loonie from then, a couple of them. Anyway, we need to come together and start taking action. And the other thing, like Blue Pill mentioned, men are competitive with each other, not working together. The other thing is men tend to butt heads, right, when we do try and come together. So one of the things that many fathers' rights groups, men's rights, however you want to word it, go through is, look, and the women's groups do too also, majority of people are great. You're going to get some wackadoodles, as we used to call them, and they can be very vocal. You're right, Lindsay. Regret is not R. I'm kind of jumping through different things here. But anyway, we would get those wackadoodles. The reason I use that term is one of the guys who was the head of it called it that. They would tear apart anything we were doing. So like I said, we were trying to get the shared parenting bill through. That's all it was about shared parenting. And why aren't we doing anything about child support and all that? Those are separate bills, right? But they couldn't make that leap. So they started pulling the group apart. It was all sorts of stuff. That's where, if we want to make change, we need to come together. We need to find a voice and focus on things. Whatever issue in society, and start working together. Look, I get it. We're all working our asses off, right? We're all tired. We're worn out. We're beat up. I get it. I'm there with you, right? I'm struggling a little bit right now because of hearing Jesse's story. It's kind of thrown me for a loop all week. But I'm working at it. And my way of resolving it, dealing with it, is to take action. Will it change anything? Who knows, right? I'll look it up real quick. I've put the videos out. Instagram, by the way, seems to be running with them. They do great on Instagram. TikTok, they're in the hundreds. TikTok is clearly not putting them out there. But think about this. If you see a video, let me just throw this out there. Yeah, I didn't plan this one, but Phoenix, you're getting into my wheelhouse here with eating healthier. I am a nutritionist. I am also a certified trainer, and I own a gym. I don't want to go there right now, but there's an interesting point. Legalize mandatory work for divorced parents. I don't know that I disagree with that logical. You might be onto something there. That's pretty logical. Keep coming out with these guys. I love hearing them and reading them. I just totally lost track of where I was. Oh, so hold on. I started taking action. My action was to make the videos that I'm making. How can you support that? Like the videos. Share the videos. Repost the videos, depending on where you're at. That's how you can help, and it doesn't cost you a dime. And how hard is it to hit the little heart on TikTok, right? Or on Instagram? How hard is it to hit the repost? Make a comment. The reason I'm saying that is not to promote myself. And yes, that is part of it. But I mean, it's going to happen. It's not about me. Think about this. I'm just going to look it up real quick. I hope this doesn't screw everything up. So on Instagram, for example, I've got 3 videos up, and a 4th should post soon about the false allegations, right? Talking about different aspects and how it affects the guys, The last one I put up has 20 likes on it, which is low for me. The one prior to that, 241, right? A one prior to that, 229, right? Think about that. What if, that's great. I appreciate all of those. But if you all did that, we're talking thousands of likes. Some girl will shake her booty in a thong and get 1 million likes. Last week I was talking about, I'm not going to mention her name, but the little pink-haired one that wants to, remove parts of men's bodies and hit them with shovels and all that, 5 million followers, millions of likes on the videos. I mean, the video hit guys with shovels. They're just guys and that kind of stuff. Million likes. We need to do that. So if you see me put up a video and you like it, if you don't like it, don't like, I'm not asking you to do it. But if you see something like that, if it resonates with you, for example, the ones I'm talking about with the false allegations, you can make a difference. You can get that algorithm moving, and they're still going to shadow ban it. I know that. Like it, share it, repost it, comment on it, make a duet, stitch it. I don't care. Get the word out. If people like Maddie or Lynn or my girl Lindsay, Squirrely Girl 1988, she's put out some amazing videos this week. You need to like those guys. Now I get it's going to trigger you to get more like that in your algorithm, and maybe you don't want that, but if you want change and you can't even do that, why would you expect there's going to be any change? I'm being blunt with you guys, right? Something as simple as doing a like. If you're watching this, like it. All of that stuff. It matters because people like myself, people like Maddie, I mean, I could list so many people. Lindsay, Franny, there are certain ones. Lauren and Emily are the big ones, right? We all know they speak out on behalf of men, but they also speak out on behalf of women. They're kind of in the middle a little bit. Last I knew, Emily had like 2 million followers. Imagine if the guys started doing that. Imagine if those of us speaking out on behalf of you, there's the blunt me, right? Now I'm in my, when I do workshop modes. Imagine, yes, it's also driven by time watch. You're right. Watch the damn videos. Don't scroll past them. Think about the change you could have with that, because it's about awareness, because that's what the women's groups do, right? Don't think they're not behind the scenes on, Quora or Reddit going, hey, I just put a video out, go like it. They all do it. I know what they do. I actually infiltrated one of their groups. It was mind-blowing. And I'm not talking about what they were saying. I'm talking about what they were doing to get action taken. It was amazing. I have to give them all the credit in the world. All right. Yeah, I mean, kind of looking through some of the things here that, like Phoenix, the fact they're watching a lot of little girls dance, yeah. I'm going to let that one go for right now. But, it's Blue Pill. I just saw your note. There's chat open. I've got both YouTube and TikTok. I'm getting more chat open on TikTok. That's why you hear me replying to them more than you. And if you're on YouTube watching this, okay, jump in. I'm watching the comments. There's a little bit of a delay for me. So, you haven't really, Phoenix? I purposely avoid those videos, but I see them all the time. Well, I don't necessarily mean kids, but I see the younger ladies. How's that? Hey, my viewpoint is, you want to do that, fine. I don't really give two craps. You do you. I'm a libertarian, right? I believe people should do whatever they want to do, as long as it's not harming others. That's my viewpoint on all this stuff. But just start there. Imagine the next time you see a video that hits home with you as a guy about a men's issue. We talked about false allegations. We've talked about things in the past, family court issues, that kind of stuff. Like that video, share that video, comment on it, share your story. I get that a lot of guys don't want to open up. Sorry, I got to take another drink. It's difficult to open up. I've been there. I've talked about it before on lives and on the podcast. What changed my life, what 180'd it, was the day I opened up. Was the day I went public with what happened to me. The more you talk about it, the more you share the story, the more you acknowledge what happened to you, if it's something horrible like it was for me, the more the power is taken away from the event. I'm not a shrink, but I've heard them say similar things, okay? Letting that rule you. And it ruled me for the first, till I was 40 years old, first 4 decades of my life, all right? Once I said, no more, I'm going to start speaking up. I'm going to start fighting back. That went away. Like I said earlier, it still affects me, but it doesn't own me anymore, not even close. So that's where we can make a difference, right? Is by opening up ourselves, being vulnerable. Look, I get it, guys. Vulnerability usually bites us in the ass. You open up to a woman, inevitably she's going to use it against you, right? It's going to be weaponized. She's going to think less of you. I'm talking about a woman that you're in a relationship with, just to be specific. We've been there. We know it. And it makes us reluctant to do so publicly. The other side of it is strength in numbers, guys, right? So when we start coming together and support one another, it makes all the difference in the world. So one of the things that, like Lindsay's commenting a lot in here, Lindsay and I back each other up. That's why I appreciate the hell out of her. She's joined me on lives. We back each other up on videos. We support one another. All right. Same thing. I've done the same with Maddie. You know, we all talk sometimes behind the scenes in various ways, either through DMs. You know, we have Discord at one point, and you know, shared those things with each other. It's all a way for us to help each other, and that's what we need to do. That. Get these. Am I streaming on Rumble? No, I am not. I actually tried Rumble and it was nothing. It was a nothing burger. It did nothing on Rumble. I tried it. I actually ended up deleting the account. I put the same videos up there that I do on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and literally 99% of them had 0 views. So there's only so much effort I'll put in on things. So that's why I don't do that. But yeah. So if you're, by the way, if you're over on YouTube watching and listening, feel free to comment there. I know Blue Pill's made a couple comments, but TikTokers, you keep going away. I'm like I said, this stream seems to be working on both of them. A little bit of lag, I think, but it seems to be going okay. So anyway, now I'm done ranting for an hour. What do you guys want to talk about? I got about another half hour, so I'm going to turn it over to you. What's something you want to talk about or share? Anything happening in your life? You can talk sports. You can talk music. Lindsay, you're getting me from both sides. That's why I got 2 screens up. You guys seem to be talking about the dancers a lot. All right, Dreamwalker, let's hear it. Because I want to hear what you guys have to say. You got your ass kicked by a baby tree? Do I want to know? All right, Phoenix. What do you want to know about the beef diet? Be careful, because I'm going to be honest with you. Dreamwalker, it absolutely can cause ED problems, stress. In fact, it's one of the biggest ones. You are Groot, Lindsay. Just chime in with anything you might, guys. Let's have a discussion on. I'm kind of opening it up for the half hour to you guys. So you want to ask me questions about me? Not that it's about me, but hey, I'm going to bring my camera down just a hair so I can sit back. Behind me, you can see Molly. There's my puppy. That's my girl. Oh, you want to know my view on the beef diet? You really want to know, Phoenix? All right. So here's my view on all diets in general. They all work and they all don't work. All right. In general, all right, I'm shifting over to my personal training nutrition side briefly here. I don't espouse any one particular diet. I'm diet neutral, as I like to say. NM74, thank you for the rose. Having worked with literally thousands upon thousands of people to help them lose weight, get in shape, and all that stuff. What works is what works for the individual. And what do I mean by that? There is no one-size-fits-all diet, all right? I am positive in when I say this. Any diet can work for you. Any diet cannot work for you. The only exception I make as far as diet neutrality, and some of you are going to get really mad at me, is keto. Keto is not a diet for the average person. It is very dangerous for the average person. The beef diet, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I know a little bit about it. I'm not an expert on it. But one of the things that I always talk about, and it kind of dovetails with what you're talking about, is that the majority of people, and I mean probably in my experience, 70, 80% of people do not eat anywhere near enough protein. So when you look at things like, a beef diet or whatever you want to call it, the hot dog diet. All right, Jenny, let's hear it. What's the best diet of all time? Get ready, though, I'll come back at you. Stomach is the most stubborn, Dreamwalker. I think you're talking about weight. The reason is we are naturally, that's where we store it. And the only way to get rid of it is to eat less than you burn. Boy, I feel like I've switched over to my fitness realm, and I'm okay with that. Do you want to ask me fitness questions? Go ahead. I'm an expert on that. Jenny wins the internet today. The grab your mate, not your plate diet. That will absolutely work. Well done. Well done. You win the prize today. Yeah, you win it. That was great. In fact, I'm going to steal that and use it in my gym business. Hope I can. Do I have to license it from you? But generally, kind of talking about fitness, just because you guys seem to want to go there, is the bottom line with weight is calories in, calories out. And anybody who tells you otherwise is full of shit, okay? Because you're saying that the law of thermodynamics does not apply. I'm trying not to go on a rant here, but the bottom line is this. If you eat more than your body burns, you're going to gain weight. If you eat less than your body burns, you're going to lose weight. If you eat the same, you're going to maintain your weight. Yes, Dreamwalker, consistency is the key, all right? And I've told you, I did an experiment a few years ago. Didn't tell you, but I will tell you. I did an experiment a few years ago where I ate nothing but junk food for about a month, but I ate less than I burned. Now, mind you, I have to consume somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 calories a day because of all the lifting I do, right? But I was living on junk, fast food, candy, all that stuff. I lost 10 pounds because I ate way less than I burned. Hormones do matter to a point, but hormones won't mean shit if you still eat more than your body needs, period. You need to take that to heart, guys, girls, okay? Stop listening to everything else until you learn that. It's CICO. Calories in versus calories out determines your weight. Notice I didn't say health. All right, you want to go fitness? We're going to go fitness. Started lifting weights, dumbbells. Will my weak arm catch up to my strong arm? Yes, it will. My suggestion, Johnny, would be if you're doing dumbbells, whatever sets you're doing, whatever workout you're doing, throw in an extra set or two on your weak arm, even if you got to go lighter weights for that time. So, for example, if I get out of balance, and I occasionally do, most people are stronger on their dominant side. I'm right-handed, so I'm stronger on my right side. What I will do, for example, let's say I'm doing curls, right? I might do, 3 sets of 8 with 30 pounds in the right hand. I'll do 40 in the left to kind of bring that into balance. So hopefully that helps you. Long story short, beef gives you everything you need to survive and be healthy by itself. I don't necessarily agree with that, Phoenix. But okay. Slow reps build the strength. Dreamwalker, you've been listening to me, haven't you? You follow me on the fitness side. That's another mistake. There's a good point Dreamwalker just made. So, fitness-wise, right? Again, I train people. I have a fitness business. I train people in group training for things like HIIT and that kind of stuff, strength training and all that. I also train people for weightlifting, powerlifting, okay? One of the things I work with, so I'll tell you a story that happened not too long ago. I had a guy come in who was in his 40s, all right? Pretty buff looking guy. Great guy. We're doing, of all things, dumbbell curls. I said, all right, what do you do your curls with, right? This is the first time I'm meeting with him. Oh, I do 70-pound curls. Okay. Okay. So he starts to do it. I said, all right, show me what you do. So he picks, I said, just give me a set of, I think it was 8, I said. He's doing the rock, right? I said, you're not working your biceps, you're working your back, primarily. I mean, he was getting some bicep work out of it. Because he was going fast, so momentum was doing most of the work, not him. And 2, he was not using correct form, which is what caused most injuries. So I fixed it, and the most he could do with dumbbells was 30s, just to give you perspective. Slow, steady work with dumbbells. Take your time with it. Barbells can be a little different, right? There's times for explosiveness. I work out primarily with barbells. But just kind of, I love it. If you guys want me to talk about this stuff, I will. I'm more than happy to help you out. Dreamwalker, why do you think it was a mistake to only work out with dumbbells? I mean, I use a variety and I preach a variety, but I'm just curious why you say it's a mistake. Spicy squirrel. Oh, dude. Phoenix. That's got to be better than the beef diet. I've had squirrel, by the way. Just kind of reading through. Jesus Christ, 30 kilograms. No, 30 pounds, not kilograms. Pounds, not kilos. You made a spicy comment. Oh, I'm going to have to scroll up now. There's a lot of comments all of a sudden coming in. All right, let me scroll up here. Just found the grab your mate, not your plate. Best eating plan for guys in their 50s to lose weight quickly. RP John. First of all, stop with the mindset to lose weight quickly. You didn't put it on that fast. You're not going to take it off that fast. Your goal should be 1 to 2 pounds per week. That's it. And 50 people just signed off. My recommendation, again, I don't know specifics, so I'm going to just speak generalities. 2 tips I'll give you. If you do these 2, it might get you where you need to be, but it's a starting point for everybody, and I do it with almost everybody I work with. 1, make sure you're drinking half your body weight in ounces of water a day. Step 1. Step 1A, not 2. 1A, gram of protein per pound of body weight. Start with just those 2 things. I've had people lose 50, 60, 70 pounds just doing those 2 things and nothing else. All right? The reason being, if you drink all that water and you eat all that protein, you're going to be so full you're not going to be reaching for the other stuff. Then from there, you can make changes. All right? Everybody's unique. It's tough. I don't like to give blanket answers or specific diets. All right? Just kind of scrolling through some of the comments. Consistency is key, Dreamwalker. Yes. Already said. I prefer chicken, not. Oh, I got it now, Lindsay. I see it. You are one spicy little minx, huh? Gotcha. I missed that one earlier. And then over on YouTube, we've got I walk a lot. Yes, walking is one exercise I highly recommend. In fact, I walk 3 times a week. Oh, Lindsay, that was great. I'm just kind of scrolling through the comments. Yes, 30 pounds. But he was doing, here's the thing, Phoenix. He was doing 30 pounds with strict form. He actually got more out of it. He told me later once we've started working together, that switching to what I had him doing, the lighter weight but proper strict form, has made all the difference. Dude's getting strong as F. All right. I'm just reading through some of this stuff. From 4 to 18 kilograms. I assume you're talking about dumbbells, Dreamwalker, on that comment. Oh, you have the opposite problem, gaining weight? Yeah, that can be fun. RP John lost 70 pounds by minimizing calories and insane amounts of cardio by bicycling. Awesome, by the way, let me say that. And you did what you needed to do, which is calories in versus calories out. You cut your calories, upped your cardio, which burns more calories. Hello, you lost 70 pounds. You just proved my point. One thing I would say to you, though, my friend, especially if you're over 50, you need to be strength training, all right? And yes, I know I'm a strength trainer. I'm a power lifter. I've competed. In fact, if I raise my camera, you can see some of my medals from, not to brag, but there, the top one there, next to the guitar, that is my powerlifting medal, some of them. By the way, I did a little fun thing, just kind of talk about that. I put a wig on, which I'm going to be using in some of my videos, and went and deadlifted, and I am now the women's powerlifting record for the deadlift in North Carolina. I'm not, but I'm just having fun with it. By the way, RP, just to kind of circle back on that, yeah, great job. I love biking too. In fact, I'm doing a 30-mile ride, I think it is, this weekend. Get some strength training in, my friend. Mentality is all the difference in the world there, Dreamwalker. Yes, on the dumbbells. Awesome. For gains, lots of little weights is recommended. For strength training, it's the opposite. Not necessarily. Oh, Phoenix, I like you. You and I could be friends, I could tell, but I need to fix a couple things for you. I am a proponent of, especially, now mind you, I only train people over 40, all right, primarily over 50. Less is more. Less reps, more weight, even for hypertrophy. Blah, blah, blah. Say that 3 times fast with a dry mouth. All right. Just kind of looking through. I think I've caught up on most of the comments now. Lindsay over on... Lindsay, you're killing me on both sides. You're an undereater. I have worked with people like that. So, again, someone like yourself who's undereats. Protein, 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 guys. All right? You work in a gym? Is it like a big box gym, Phoenix? Let me tell you something. As an owner of a gym, okay, and having managed gyms, I gotta fix my camera again, so because I kind of sat back for a little bit. All right, you gotta promise not to tell anybody what I'm about to tell you. So shh, right? This stays between us. 90% of the trainers in gyms have no effing clue what they're doing. Oops, did I say that out loud? Oh, cool. Generic multi-purpose gym. So I've hired and fired hundreds of trainers in my time, all right? I've trained trainers. I used to run a program called Train the Trainer. I would bring in a group of 10, 12 people and teach them how to be personal trainers. And I ran it like a college course. So it was a semester program. They had, we used the NASM book for the thing, NASM. And I've held every certification at one time or another all the way back into the 90s when they first came out. In fact, I was one of the first ones with ACE. But anyway, I would train the people. So we did a full 13 to 15 week, depending on how I did it, course. 3-hour block of classroom. We did it Mondays, 6 to 9 at night. And then they came into the gym and learned how to be a trainer on Saturdays in the afternoon, because gyms are dead then, right? Most people, does anybody know what requirements are to be a personal trainer? I'll just throw it out there just for the general public. What are you doing over here? I'm just reading through various things here. That's great. Sorry. Somebody sent me a private message too. What do you think are the requirements to be a personal trainer? I'll just throw that out there. Anybody want to take a guess? I'm talking U.S. Yeah, right. It is different in other countries. Let's talk U.S. Sorry, I should have been specific on that. Yep, Lindsay, you're right. So here's the answer. There are no requirements in the United States. Zero. Zilch. None. You want to be a personal trainer? Here's what you got to do. Go to Vistaprint. Make a business card out saying, I'm a personal trainer. You're now a personal trainer. You don't need to know squat. That is the requirements in all 50 states in the U.S. There are no requirements. Nutrition's a different story, all right? So I call myself a nutritionist, but legally I live in North Carolina now. I am not a nutritionist in the state of North Carolina because I'm not licensed here. The nutrition is licensing, so it's a different story. So legally I can't really call myself a nutritionist anymore because I'm not licensed in North Carolina. Oh, is that why you ask me and not him? Lindsay? Lindsay will ping me every once in a while and ask me questions about exercises. Yeah, so, talking about train the trainer thing that I did, they didn't just learn from the books. They had to demonstrate, and then they had to pass my test. And if they passed my test when they went to take their certification test, it was a slam dunk. The average score for my people was over 90, all right? Because when you are a gym owner, you need trainers, and the turnover is unbelievable. Have a good night downtown. I got about 10 more minutes, guys. You'll get people from off the street. I have this certification. All right, that's great. How'd you get it? That's almost the first question I ask them. There is a ton of misinformation out there. In fact, I will tell you right now, about 95% of what you see in social media is wrong. And if you're going to YouTube videos to learn how to do certain exercises, here's a hint for you. A lot of them are wrong. There's a lot of good ones. I've made some good ones. There's some very good ones, but there's a lot of bad ones. But yeah, so, but they would come in to interview with me. And so I actually had, they had to go through 2 interviews before they met with me because I was, I owned the place. So they would meet with one of the other trainers. That was the first thing. And that trainer, if they thought they were okay, they would then pass them to the next person and then eventually to me. My interview was this, tell me a little bit about yourself, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we're going to the training room. And I would say to them, I am now your client. I want you to design a workout program for me. And I would shut up. And 9 times out of 10, they'd look at me like a deer in the headlights. But I had some good ones. And then, whatever they came up with. So most of the time, they never asked me questions. If they asked me questions, I gave them honest answers, right? The best one I ever had, he's like, well, I can't. The answer was, I can't write a program for you because I don't know anything about you. Bing, bing, bing. He was hired. Actually was a great trainer. But a lot of them would pull out bullshit out of their ass because they didn't know. They'd never trained anyone. They were book trained, right? They had a certificate. Mine is somewhere around here. I've got a few of them. The other thing I would do is I would say to them, okay, teach me how to do a squat. I want to learn how to do a squat. They would not answer any questions and they'd go right into doing a squat. And I would go, but I have a bad knee. Was the usual answer. I had some who had a great one. And then, depending on how they went, that was the interview. And less than 10% of the people I interviewed got hired because that's how I tested them, because they never really learned. Most trainers don't know what they're talking about. Unfortunately, I am, being a libertarian, I am dead set against government involved in anything. There needs to be a program to license trainers because it is criminal what I see some of the stuff. All right, guys, I got about 7 more minutes because I do have to get off at 5:30. If you want to ask more fitness questions, you got me. Feel free. This is not the objective here, but hey, why not, right? and actually I'm passionate about it, so feel free. Couple things while I'm waiting. I used to do the lives on Mondays. I am moving them till this time frame, right? Just to kind of get a little space between the podcast on Sundays and the live public lives. So I'm going to generally do 4 to 5:30 every Wednesday. Summer's coming. There may be times I don't. I live in a beach town. Sometimes I'm going to go to the beach. It was really hard not to go today because it is gorgeous where I am in southeastern North Carolina. But generally, I'm going to be on from 4 to 5:30 doing the public lives. I will usually have a topic like we did today. And I do want to kind of do what we're doing now is just kind of free form after that. The other thing I do want to let you know, like I mentioned briefly earlier, I do have the Patreon going now. Just if you'll indulge me for a couple minutes with that Patreon. One of the things that I want to do is have that place for guys to come in where they can safely talk. So here's the thing that a lot of guys don't realize. And I actually dealt with this a little bit with Jason on the podcast. You have to be careful what you say in some cases, right? So I was making sure that we covered him so that nothing legally could blow back on him. Remember, anything you post online is fair game in court. It's fair game, and they can get their hands on it. One of the things I want to do with the Patreon is, one, it's behind a paywall, so that limits them a little bit. But I'm going to be doing lives and things like this, but we're going to do it in a way where there is no recording of it. It's not, I'm going to be using things like Zoom and stuff like that where I can really control who's in there. Can I guarantee no one will get it? No, but I want it to be a place where guys can come in and share, open up, unload, do whatever they need to do to make their life better. And the rest of us will be there to support you, give you guidance, whatever you need. I'm also going to be bringing in guests into that, much like I do with the podcast, but a podcast has to be generic. It has to be, it's for the mass audience. If I want to get in and do a specific topic in the private lives where, guys can say, here's my situation. Keep in mind, like, for example, if I have a divorce lawyer on, they can't, if they're not licensed in your state, they can't give you specific information, but they can give you guidance that you can use. I'm going to bring on mental health professionals. I'm working with a couple of them so that they'll come on. It's not going to be all the time. I'm hoping like once a month, I'm going to call them a workshop. That'll be available through the Patreon. It's going to be a protected place so you can open up safely and not have to worry about it blowing back on you in court so much. Because I know there's people out there that use Facebook groups, and I'm not trying to knock anyone, okay? Facebook groups are so easily infiltrated. Quora, Reddit, those groups, so easily infiltrated. As I said before, I infiltrated a women's group. I created a handle. I went in there. I said a few of the right things. They loved me. Little did they know. And after a while, I kind of just sat back. But yeah, so if you're thinking about it, yeah, there's a paywall. I'm not going to lie to you. But you're also, one of the things I wanted to talk about, and I put a video up earlier. This month, anybody who signs up for the Patreon this month, May, 50%, 50, of the money that comes in, whether it's through that, and I'm going to be releasing some merch soon, all of that stuff. Whatever income comes in, 50% of it is being donated to the Taylor House. That is one of the 2 domestic violence shelters in the U.S. I interviewed Randy from there a couple weeks ago on the podcast. I want to help them out. So sign up, and half the money goes to them. I will write a check for them because it's that important. Down the road, I'm going to be doing donations out of that also. So your money doesn't just pay for me, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's just trying to make money. No, I'm not. All right. I do want to be able to get some better equipment. The camera I'm using, as you can tell, is not the greatest. So some of the money's going to go for that. I'm not looking to make an income off of this, right? A living, but it can help me offset some of my costs. But also I want to help out. One of the things I wish I could have done, like I talked about earlier, back in the day, was put a billboard up, right? Imagine if I have enough money coming in, I can do stuff like that. Go buy a billboard. Imagine what change that could be. All right, I have 2 more minutes before I drop off. Anything else you guys want to say to me? good, bad, or indifferent, just keep it respectful. You can call me every name in the book. I don't care. Just keep it respectful. I really enjoyed the hell out of this. I love that it kind of shifted over to the fitness there for a while. As I said, thank you, Pure Phoenix. Yes, $5 a month for Genuine Healing. It is going to be a place for healing, guys. So please feel free. And again, I'll be in there a lot. So just getting rolling. All right. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and get off. I've got crotch goblins with homework. Well, I have my own crotch goblins I got to deal with. They're called my clients. I have to go do some training right now with my awesome ladies. I want to wish everyone a very nice evening. Thank you. Sincerely, thank you for listening and following me. Do me a favor, guys. Like the things I'm posting, especially this week. I'm begging you. Like, share, comment on those false allegation videos. It's not just to push them for me. It's to get the awareness out there. I want people to hear about this and understand what a false allegation does to guys. And please, please, please watch that podcast Sunday. All right, on that note, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Y'all have a great night, and we'll catch you next time.